52 cakes. I'm a wedding cake designer located in New York City, Manhattan, and I'm here today just to give a little demonstration on how to use disco dust. It's a non-toxic item that's recently been introduced on the market, and it's non-toxic, but it is not exactly a food additive that you would add directly to food. It's used for decorative use only, and in small quantities it can be ingested. And it adds a very special sparkle to your special occasion cake. Let's say you have a bar mitzvah, birthday party, or you just want to add some glam glitter to wedding cake. You can put it on a border trim. You can actually do a little birthday cake and do a top tier that is very decorative and glittery. Flowers, and you can get inspiration from anywhere and anywhere in life. This was actually a greeting card that I found, and it was on a dress. So it was a dress pattern, and I incorporated it into the cake using red poppies and gold glitter. So today, to start the demonstration, you can do it on a styrofoam or a real cake, but I suggest doing it on a styrofoam cake. It'll make it a little bit easier. You will take fondant and color it to the desired color, particularly closer to the glitter that will be most abundant on the cake. Because if you're using white fondant, it's just going to show through if the glitter doesn't stick. So to begin, you can color your fondant to close to the color of your disco dust that you'll be using, so that if any parts do not get covered by the disco dust, that it will not be white, as in you're putting gold disco dust on white fondant. It will just shout out to you saying this is wrong. So try out first and color your fondant before adding it to your styrofoam. You can use confectioner sugar. And what I like to do is I just spray a little water on the styrofoam base, roll it out like pie dough, and then drape it over the cake, smooth it out, and then trim the edges. Now that your styrofoam dummy is covered with the fondant, you will prep yourself for the next stage, which is to color your royal icing. What I've done already is I've colored red and black. So here you have the base is covered, and in order to achieve the first part of the flower, you will pipe black onto the base, and you'll just scatter them around in a flower design. This will be the center of the flower. And what I like to use is sheets of parchment paper, because you don't want anything to go to waste. Disco dust can get expensive. So once you have piped one or two of these, before it dries, you want to sprinkle your black disco dust on the piped item. Then you can just tilt it and knock it off. Once this is dried and set, you can give it about 30 minutes. What you want to do is just lightly brush off all the excess. After your black has dried, giving about 30 minutes, you can go ahead and start applying the red royal icing to form the flowers. Just pipe the outer edges first. And you don't have to be exact because this is a very colorful and playful design. You're going to fill it in. Then what I like to do is just take a brush, and you can add a little texture to the flower, because all petals have a little bit of texture. So you don't want your royal icing to be too thin, because then you're not going to have, it's just going to flood it and it's going to be flat. So you can add a little dimension to each petal. So another reason why I like to use the styrofoam base for something this decorative is because I can just tap it off. So you will let this dry for another 30 minutes before going ahead with the all-around color, the gold disco dust. And now that the black and the red is fully dried, now we're going to apply the gold disco dust. And like I said before, the styrofoam just makes it a little bit easier because now, since I need to have access to all corners of the cake without touching it, I'm just going to insert a little skewer and I'm going to hold it from the bottom. If this was a real cake, you would just stick it to a cardboard base so that you could be holding the cardboard as you're moving around the cake. This is just corn syrup, and I'm going to apply it with a fan brush. So we just paint on the areas that the red and the black are not covering. And you can cover about maybe a quarter of the cake. You don't want to go too far ahead because you don't want it to dry before adding the gold disco dust. And since we're covering the cake fully with glitter, you'll notice that there's still some red and black left over, but that's okay because we're going to be covering it up with the gold. So another reason why I use the royal icing to form the flowers and I'm using corn syrup to stick the gold is because I wanted the flowers to stand out a little bit. They're a little bit raised, so it gives it a little bit more pronunciation. And with the gold, you just sprinkle it on. And then just tap it off. If there are any areas that you missed, you can go back, apply a little more corn syrup, and then just take your finger and jot it on. And there we have it. The cake with all 3 different types of disco dust. Today we have covered 3 steps to reach our final product. First, we applied black royal icing and sprinkled black disco dust on top of that. Let that dry for 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Then started to pipe the red royal icing, sprinkling with disco dust, letting that dry for 30 minutes. And then taking corn syrup, brushing the outside of the fondant and sprinkling gold disco dust onto the product. This is the final product, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial.